lady. Adjust the microphone as you see fit. Keep your voice nice and loud. Advance when you're ready.
Thank you. Can you please introduce yourself to the court?
Detective Chad Verwick,
Where are you currently employed?
Jacksonville Sheriff's Office,
In what capacity?
crime scene detective,
And how long have you been a crime scene detective?
4 years.
In November of 2019, did you become involved in the investigation of a missing child, Taylor Williams?
Yes.
Where did you respond to?
Respond to 8787 Southside Boulevard, the apartment number 205.
Were you the second round of evidence technicians to come to the apartment?
Yes.
And was your role to take pictures of specific items and swab whatever needed to be swabbed?
That's correct.
Were you working alone or with another detective?
I was working with Detective Wilson.
And Detective Rory, were there multiple evidence technicians involved in this case?
Everybody detective, crime scene detectives involved in this case, correct?
And you all worked together as a team?
Yes.
Detective, I'm showing you State's Exhibit 60. What is it that we're looking at here?
Soiled underwear.
Detective, as you are photographing these specific items and this soiled underwear is being brought to your attention, did you observe multiple items that were soiled, or was it just this one?
Multiple.
State 61
Appears to be soiled pants.
and 62,
Soiled pants.
63,
Soiled underwear.
and 64.
Appears to be a soiled shirt.
Now, Detective, we've talked about soiled underwear, pants, and shirt. These are children's clothing, correct?
That's what they appear to be, yes.
State 65.
This appears to be the victim's bedroom.
Okay, and we have a lot of stuff on the floor, right?
Correct.
I'm placing a circle around this Dole can. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay. We already heard from Detective Barnes that pretty much the entire apartment was collected, right?
Many items were collected.
Okay. And including this can.
Correct.
Okay. May I approach the witness?
Yes.
Detective, I'm showing you State's Exhibit 111. Is that a Dole can similar to what we see in the picture?
Yes, it is.
And can you just describe what we see going on with the top of it?
The top of the can appears to be like a pry open.
And it's just a small section?
That's correct.
Okay. State 67, what is this a photograph
A box, possible soil.
of? And State 68,
It's a bedroom with Clorox wipes on a table and baking soda.
Detective, we already talked about the fact that you swabbed some areas, so we're just going to go through those swabs, okay?
Okay.
And what exactly were you swabbing for?
Potential blood.
Okay, so State's Exhibit 69, is this the first swab that you took?
I believe that's the first one. It's kind of small, but Detective Wilson collected the swabs.
Okay. Detective, I'm going to bring these up to you so it might help you with the photographs.
Thank you.
And I'm handing you State's Exhibits 112 through 117. So if you need to refer to those when we're talking about the swabs, you're free to do so. So looking back at State 69, is that swab 1?
Correct. It's inside the closet.
State 70,
That's the closet door on the inside.
and then swab number 2.
Correct.
State 71,
That's the swab on the lower east wall.
State 72,
That's the swab number 3.
okay. State 73,
That's going to be the bathroom sink, top of the counter.
and swab number 4.
Correct. That'd be where they're swabbing.
And State 74,
It's going to be the bathroom door
State 75.
outside the bathroom door.
And is that a close-up of swab number 6?
Yes.
Okay. Now those swabs, you don't do any further testing, you just send them to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, correct?
That investigator was there.
State 76, where is this at?
This is a closet storage area outside the front door in the breezeway of the apartment building.
And we can see apartment 205 is right next door to that, right?
Yes, it's to the right of the door.
State 77, what's inside of that storage closet?
Multiple large bags containing trash.
Were those trash bags gone through?
Yes.
And did you find anything that associated those bags with the defendant, Breanna Williams?
Yes, there's a doctor's note in there with the victim's name on it.
Okay. I have no further questions.
Mr. Beard. Thank you, Judge.
I'm showing you Exhibit 65. In that photo, can you see the entrance to the closet?
I do.
Are there clothing items that are inside of that closet?
I believe there are probably some in there from there.
Were you part of the team that was sorting the items?
No, I was not.
Were you aware of what was in the closet when you took this photo?
No.
Are you aware of what types of sorting was done with those items?
No.
You had mentioned that on this box, it was possibly soiled. Why do you say possibly?
Because of the brown stains on it.
Is there any reason to determine that it is feces, or how can you determine that?
That's why I say it was possibly.
If somebody was to testify and say that they could determine that was feces, is there a test that can be done to determine that?
I have no idea what test there is to do that.
All right. And then you were talking about the swabs that you were taking were possible blood stains.
That's correct.
Why do you say possible?
I have it at 3 locations. It came back presumptive negative. But when I took luminol photos, it did show up as possible areas. So we swabbed those areas, submit to the FDLE, and they can make that final determination.
Okay. But there were areas that you labeled as possible blood stains that you didn't do luminol on. Is that fair?
That's fair.
So why the term possible? Is it because it's presumptive? It's not a test that can make that determination?
Well, having it as a presumptive blood test, and being that the luminol, which can be blood, it can be bleach, and it is lit up when we took the photos. That's why I marked those areas, and we swabbed them so that we submitted the FDLE so they can make the final determination.
Okay. And through your efforts in that department, did you see cleaning solutions that could cause a presumptive positive test for luminol?
Clorox and bleach wipes could.
Okay. With respect to, I'm showing you what's admitted as Exhibit 74. There's a mirror in the background. Is that the luminol that you're talking about that was sprayed on the mirror?
No.
So what would that stain be on the mirror?
I don't know what that stain is.
And then outside, it looks like there's on Exhibit 77, there's a white bag. There's some black bags and then there's a white bag. What's in the white bag?
I believe those are tires.
And did you check that to make sure that those are tires?
Yeah, I looked and saw. Yes.
And those would have been kind of new tires?
I don't remember the condition of the tires that are new or used.
Okay. And then
Yes.
nothing for the judge.
Anything further for the witness?
No, Your Honor.
Detective, thank you so much. You're free to go. State, I'll look to you.
Your Honor, the statement next called Calandra Frazier.
Ms. Frazier. Now, if you come all the way to the front of the courtroom, stand with the bailiffs indicated, raise your right hand and be sworn.
solemnly swear upon the truth, the whole truth, and nothing
extent you can. There you go. You can adjust to the chair, adjust the microphone, keep your voice up nice and loud for us all. Stay up with you.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Can you please introduce yourself to the court and spell your last name for the record?
Yes, my name is Calandra Frazier. Last name is Frazier.
Ms. Frazier, are you currently a member of the U.S. Navy?
Yes.
What is your rank and title?
E6, I'm an information systems technician
How long have you been in the Navy?
for 13 years
And where are you currently stationed?
in Mayport.
Were you previously stationed in Norfolk, Virginia?
Yes.
While in Virginia, did you come to know an individual named Breanna Williams?
Yes.
When did Breanna Williams come to Virginia?
It was around March of 2015.
And had you already been there?
Yes.
Were you assigned to be her sponsor?
Yes.
Can you describe to the people what that means?
Yes, so as a sponsor, you're the person that makes contact with sailors that are in transit to that command just to make sure that they can transition smoothly to the next command, help them with any information they may need for that surrounding area if they're coming from a different location.
So would you say that you had an opportunity to get to know Breanna Williams?
Yes.
And did you come to know that she had a daughter?
Yes.
Did you know her daughter's name to be Taylor?
Yes.
And that she was about 3 years old at the time? Would that be accurate? 2 or 3?
2 or 3, yes.
Okay. How many times did you meet Taylor?
Maybe like 2 or 3 times in person.
Were you aware of what Breanna Williams' child care situation was while she was in Virginia?
Other than I knew that she had an in-home care provider, but as far as who provided her home care, I didn't know that part.
Was that home care something that was actually through the Navy,
Yes.
called the CDH?
Yes.
And were you aware that if one sitter wasn't available, she had backup sitters?
Yes.
Did the base also have child care as well?
I'm not sure about their availability as far as child care on base is concerned.
Okay. In 2016, did you and the defendant deploy together?
Yes.
Was that May of 2016?
We left June of 2016.
Okay. And where did you get deployed to?
Around like Italy, so Europe and the Middle East.
When you went on your deployment, were you aware of where Taylor went to live?
Yes.
Where was that?
She was in Alabama with family.
Okay. During your time on deployment, did you notice any odd behavior from the defendant?
I did not.
She seemed like the same person.
Yes.
That's same as before you left
Yes.
and same when you returned.
Yes.
Did you ever hear her talking about having hallucinations?
No.
Did she ever seem to be acting not in reality?
No.
Talking not in reality?
No.
Okay. Now, while you're in Virginia, did you also learn that Breanna had 2 places that she was paying rent for?
Yes.
And was this for a long period of time or a short period of time?
A short period of time.
And what was the reason for that?
It was due to a guy that she was messing with that kept showing up to her house, and so for the sake of safety, she found another place to get away from him.
Okay. Had you ever been to either of those locations?
I went to the second location.
The second one. But you had never been to the first one?
No.
After leaving Virginia, did you continue to keep in contact with the defendant?
Yes.
How would the 2 of you normally communicate?
Via text message.
I want to go back to when you all returned from deployment. Taylor came back to live with Breanna, right?
Not immediately, no.
But eventually?
Yes.
When she came back to live with Breanna, did Breanna ever say anything about Taylor's behavior upon her return?
Yes.
What was it that she complained about?
Just how prior to deployment, she would always say like Taylor was like kind of quiet. She wasn't getting into anything. And pretty much when she came back home, that she was a different child. So I would just be like, she's older. She's probably forming her, like, finding her personality. So it's just kind of like you have to adjust to your growing child.
Was there a complaint about oatmeal?
Yes.
Can you explain that to the court?
There was a conversation that we once had about Breanna fixing Taylor, like I'm assuming, if I remember correctly, it was like a pack of oatmeal and Taylor still being hungry and wanting more oatmeal, and Breanna pretty much complaining because she felt like that was too much oatmeal for a child her age.
Okay. After deployment, you mentioned that she thought Taylor was like a different child and getting into things. Was there anything specific that she mentioned?
I don't remember if it was before or after deployment, but there was a couple of conversations, just her like doing things that I, again, felt like kids do, like in the blinds, spilling stuff, breaking stuff, things that, like I said, I felt kids normally would do.
Okay. What about incidents of maybe peeing the bed?
Yes.
Okay. Did you and Breanna have the type of relationship where you guys would talk about the men that you were seeing?
Yes.
When Breanna moved to Jacksonville, Florida, did you continue those types of conversations?
Yes.
And were there times where Breanna would mention that she stayed out all night with a guy?
Yes.
Did that seem odd to you?
In a sense, but I questioned it just because I knew that Taylor was down there with her, so I did ask her during that one conversation, like, where's your child at while you're out with this man? And then she eventually answered my question.
What was her answer?
That Taylor was in Alabama.
Did you also ask her about Taylor being in school?
Yes.
Was Taylor in school?
According to her, Breanna, she was not.
What triggered this conversation?
Because I'm originally from Jacksonville, so I knew when the kids went back to school, I knew that Taylor was 5 and she didn't have a late birthday, so I knew she should have been starting kindergarten. So I reached out to her just to see like how her first day of kindergarten went, so that's what triggered that conversation.
And when you asked Breanna about Taylor being in school, why did she say she wasn't?
Because she felt that the behavior that Taylor had at home, like that she wasn't ready for school.
So she held her back.
Yes.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Yes.
Ms. Frazier, I'm showing you what's been entered into evidence as State's Exhibit 118. I just want you to look at this document and confirm whether or not this is your phone number. Do not read it out loud.
Yes.
Okay. And does this appear to be messages between you and Breanna?
Yes.
These messages, they start in mid-September of 2019 and go until Taylor's reported missing on November 6th. During this conversation, do you recall talking about cheese pizza?
Yes.
Can you tell the court what the deal is with cheese pizza?
According to Breanna, Taylor, cheese pizza was like the one thing that Taylor always wanted to eat. So it was always like, hey, I pretty much can't get her to eat anything else, and all Taylor wants is cheese pizza.
Was she complaining about it?
Yes.
I have nothing further from this witness.
Mr. Beard, whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
When you're saying that the behavior of Taylor changed after deployment and coming back to live with Ms. Williams, was that from the information that Ms. Williams was providing you or from what you were seeing?
No, from what she was providing me.
How many times had you seen Taylor after deployment?
Maybe once.
And when you're talking about your relationship was close enough to talk about other guys and kind of a relationships, was there discussions about senior or men in the Navy that were superior to your current rank that married men that Ms. Williams was having sex with?
Yes.
And did you learn about the types of roles and role play that was being done in those relationships?
Yes.
And was that something that started on deployment?
No.
When did that start?
It would have been before the deployment, but I don't remember like the exact time frame when that started.
And how did that conversation come about?
I really don't remember. We just randomly would talk about random stuff.
Was there an instance where it just would be talking about random stuff and all of a sudden that comes out, or the conversation is about sexual things and then that's where it gets talked about?
We would just start talking about random stuff, and then depending on the day and the conversation, then other things would be brought into the conversation.
Did she ever tell you about her past history, if there was any abuse or issues with sexual advances on her?
No,
What about if she had ever been raped?
no,
What about if she had ever had an abortion?
no,
How about if she was dating anybody?
no.
Did you ever know an individual named Maurice Tate?
I knew that was her child's father.
And did you ever see him?
No,
Did you ever know him to come to Virginia?
no,
Did she ever talk about him?
no.
How about the rest of the family?
She talked about her dad more than anybody out of her family that I can recall.
And did you ever meet any of the family?
No,
Were you aware if anybody ever came to visit her in Virginia?
I'm not aware of that.
And to your knowledge, when you guys got back from deployment, you're saying that there's no change that happened with Ms. Williams.
No,
And how long were you with her prior to her leaving to Jacksonville?
we got back in December. I left that command in July, so about 7 months. But I was still in Virginia. But she was at the command we were previously at, and I went on to another assignment.
So for about 7 months
Once.
you were with her? Okay. And was that every day that you were seeing her?
Yes,
And that was in the role of the Navy?
yes,
What about outside contact? Did y'all go party anywhere outside?
no,
How about just seeing movies?
no,
Dinner?
nope,
So your entire experience with her would have been while she's in uniform?
yes.
Okay. Did she ever talk about receiving gifts or getting things from the men that she was sleeping with?
Yes.
And what types of gifts?
Money?
And did anybody ever, was it a quid pro quo? Was it the money for sex, or was it just gratuitous gifts?
I'm not sure.
You didn't ask?
No.
When you say that she never talked about anything, like seeing things or hearing things, was there times when you would be up for long hours on deployment?
Yes.
And would that be kind of by yourself when you're having to do that, like as a watch?
It depends. So when we're getting prepared to either go out to sea, we would be up the night before, because that's just the protocol that I set, so that when our command would be up in the morning, like their computers are ready to go, so we would work through the night, kind of sleep through the day, just to kind of make things a little bit easier on us.
And when you're working with IT, you're doing a lot of computer work,
Yes.
and it's transmitting messages.
Yes.
And is that an important job?
Yes.
And what's the significance of that job?
So it depends on where you are, but we're responsible for communications on and off the ship. So communications is a big deal for the ship and their missions.
And how did Breanna perform in that?
She was outstanding. I learned a lot from her.
And so, was she someone that people would go to for the work, or essentially they would trust that she was going to get the job done?
Yes.
Did she ever complain?
We all complain, but yes.
About the work, that she's there complaining, I'm not going to do this.
Oh, no.
If she got assigned a task, she completed that task.
Yes.
And if she was told that she needed to be somewhere, she would be there.
Yes.
Was there ever any question in her character?
No.
I don't have anything further.
Are you ready for the week?
No.
Yeah, thank you so much for your Ms. Anderson, I'll look to you.
Your Honor, the state will call Michael Stratford.
Mr. Stratton. the chair as you see fit. Your voice up nice and loud. Ms. Anderson, your witness.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Can you please state your name and spell your last name for the record?
Michael Stratford, Stratford.
Mr. Stratford, are you currently in the Navy Reserves
Yes.
as a chief?
Yes.
And previously, were you working at NAS Jax?
I was.
November of 2019?
Yes.
Did you come to know a person named Breanna Williams during your employment there?
Yes.
What was Breanna Williams to you?
Subordinate, so she was my second as I was the departmental LPO.
All right. What was her title in the U.S. Navy?
Information Systems First Class. She did CMS and she was just second LPO over there.
What is CMS?
Used to be EKMS, so Electronic Key Material Systems.
Okay, so IT work, essentially?
IT work.
Okay. What level of clearance did she have?
Top secret.
That top secret level of clearance, is that kind of ingrained in the work that y'all did?
Yes.
To get top secret clearance, do you have to apply for it?
Yes.
It's not just given to everybody?
No, it's investigated.
Okay, it's investigated.
Yes.
So there's an interview process.
Yes.
Do they speak with your prior supervisors?
Prior supervisors, neighbors, wherever you've lived, anybody you know, references, everyone.
The purpose of this is to make sure you're fit for this job, correct?
Correct.
How long did the two of you work together?
About 1 to 2 years.
On November 6, 2019, did you learn that Breanna had reported her daughter missing?
Yes.
How did you learn this information?
I was getting in contact with her when she was returning late from leave on that day. So I called her. She did not respond, and she texted me a few minutes later saying that she was talking to the sheriff's office because Taylor was missing.
So you mentioned that she had been on leave. In order to take leave in the U.S. Navy, do you have to put in a request?
Yes.
What is the typical time frame for someone to put in that request? Like how long in advance do they need to do that?
Minimum 1 to 2 weeks.
Okay. If it's sooner than that, is there a process that has to happen to get that approved?
Yes, just needs to get vetted. Normally if there's emergency leave, it can be done right away, but if you're able to talk through it and see what's going on, you can get it done sooner.
Okay. Were you one of the individuals that would have had to sign off on that leave form?
Yes, as watch club coordinator.
Okay. Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Yes.
Mr. Stratford, I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 102. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
What is this?
This is a leave request form.
Is this the leave request form that Breanna Williams entered?
Yes.
Okay. The date of request is October 22nd of 2019. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the leave dates are for what?
October 31st to the 5th of November.
Okay. And what was the reasoning for the leave? What did Breanna tell you?
She told me that she was going to go trick-or-treating with Taylor in Alabama.
Okay. Were you also in charge of some of the scheduling for work shifts?
Yes.
What type of scheduling did you have a hand in doing?
Watch club coordinator and sometimes when we left for the day.
Can you explain to the court what watch bill coordinator is? Like, what is watch bill? What is that?
So we have standard watches that we have to maintain the 24-hour watch floor at our job to provide support to the P8s that fly out of NAS Jax. So our normal shifts were from 8 to 20 and 20 to 08.
Okay, so 20, when you're saying 20, is that 8 p.m.?
8 p.m.
Okay, so it's 12-hour shifts.
Yes.
How often would those 12-hour shifts occur?
Depending on the amount of people that were in the area, because we were using employers to fulfill our watch bill, sometimes up to 5 days a month.
Okay. As the scheduler, you were aware that the defendant was a single mom.
Yes.
Did you take that into consideration when you were making this schedule?
Yes, I would only put her on weekdays and only on the day shift.
Did you make efforts to assist her with childcare issues?
If she was having issues or if she needed to go pick her up, I offered that I would come in, or if we could talk to somebody else who could come in to cover the watch, but that was it.
Okay. At one point, did you know that Taylor was attending daycare on base?
Yes.
At any point in the time that you worked with Breanna Williams, did she ever indicate that she had childcare issues?
She had a neighbor that watched her, and then CDC would close. Sometimes it would be close to the end of the watch.
Okay, but she said a neighbor was watching Taylor?
Yes.
I have no further questions for this witness.
Mr. Beery, whenever you're ready.
It's closed.
You're saying CDC would close,
Yes, I believe they close around 7:30.
and that is the child care on base,
Correct.
and they're open Monday to Friday.
I believe so.
Okay. Could it be possible that they're open from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.?
I would not know the hours now.
Okay. Wait, you're saying that you would help out with child care issues? What do you mean by that?
I would just work with her so she could go and tend to her child care issues. I wouldn't actually take care of the child at all.
Okay. Did you ever meet Taylor?
I met her once at work. She came in with Taylor when she had to take care of something really quickly.
Are you able to date that?
Maybe 6 months prior to the report missing.
Okay. Did you ever have any occasion to see Miss Williams outside of the name?
No,
How about meet any of her family outside of Taylor?
no.
Did you know about her family? Did she ever talk about her family?
Here and there,
And what information did you know?
just family in Alabama, and that she was coming from Norfolk.
As a sailor, how was she in her performance?
Every job she was given, she would do it the best she could, and once, like, we would never have any issues taking care of items.
So you said she was prompt
Yes,
and that she was diligent
yes,
and thorough,
yes.
would not complain.
Here and there, but she would still take care of her job.
And you would trust and rely on her.
Yes,
When you're talking about the clearance for the top secret clearance, is there a higher clearance than that?
there are other ones, yes,
And those require more vetting?
yes.
And you were talking about the vetting process. Are you familiar with the vetting process to get the clearance?
Yes.
And what types of individuals would they want to speak with to make that determination?
I have neighbors, family, anybody you've met and had long-lasting relationships with, those kind of things.
And do you know when she obtained that clearance?
I do not.
Would it have been prior to coming to NASJAX?
Yes,
Were you ever familiar with Cassandra Frazier?
no,
How about anybody that she was affiliated with in the Navy prior to coming to NASJAX?
no.
Did you have an idea where she stayed off base?
In Southside.
And that was just for scheduling for kind of travel?